Great morning, fantastic morning, marvelous morning, miraculous morning, awesome morning. Why? Because our Creator chose you and chose me to rise, to rise, to inhale His love and exhale His love, and to see all about His majestic and miraculous surroundings as we experience heaven here on earth. I now believe that after being a part of a 12-step spiritual program introduced to the Ruiz family's 5 agreements and the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja, my heaven is experienced on this earthly journey. Why? Because we learn to apply spiritual principles to all this stuff here on earth. Therefore, we can be the love of our lives, experience creating our artistic values, and to make sure that we are acknowledging our Creator who is responsible for it all. So you ready? Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, soldiers of the Lord. Y'all know I like energy. Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, soldiers of the Lord. Yes, 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 yes. Listen, listen. If they come because I am just so grateful and so humble that I was chosen this morning to rise, to sit before you this day that we will never ever see again. This hour that I have with you to share my experience, my strength, my hope of what my Creator gave to me 33 plus years ago after He delivered me from underneath a parked car with co-occurring disorders of chemical dependency and mental illness and the life of a prostitute. So I've been delivered, I've been set free from recovery, emerge, empowered, right? That's what it stands for. From recovery, emerge, enlighten, to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. And so I have been prepared, I have been equipped, and I have been humbled to share with you the true transparency and authenticity of my journey all my life, but more importantly, the last 33 plus years, incorporating all of those spiritual pathways, information, and wisdom from the 12-step spiritual program, the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family, and most recently, the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja of P3 University. I now know that I am the love of my life. Although I love many, but I need to be the love of my life. Therefore, at age 67, I will continue to feed my spiritual spirit based on spiritual principles in order to acknowledge my pain that created my passion, now fulfilling my purpose, and now by Deuteronomy 8:18 to acquire my wealth only to recycle to help others. Dr. Sonja said, if you didn't come from a wealthy family, let a wealthy family come from you. But it all has to be on a spiritual basis, and God knows it is. And so, yes, I'm Edwina B., your Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, and I am delighted to be here. I'm telling you, the enemy is busy. It's busy. It is busy. But nevertheless, I fought through, prayed, humbled myself, and said, guess what? God's been too good to you. Yes, your creator has been awesome to you. And how dare you, how dare you, how dare you not fulfill your obligation, your requirement, and his request of staying sober and helping another alcoholic achieve sobriety. Okay, so that's that. Now I want to introduce you to something else. Remember, I shared earlier this week that I am going to have my event on Saturday, May the 20th from 11 to 2 p.m. And I have a venue, but I need confirmation. So I'm going to claim it, right? And the Spirit gave to me yesterday, it's going to be free. It's going to be free. It's going to be free to all women and to men who want to spoil their mate. I'm going to auction off some of my clothing that many of you have inquired about where I got it from, where. But guess what? Here is your opportunity to come Saturday, May the 20th, after Mother's Day week, right? And select an auction, place a bid on the outfit or outfits you would like to have yourself or you would like to purchase for somebody else. I have so many clothes that I need to do this. But the main reason is I have taken clothes off my back. When people say, "Ooh, I admire that." And I say, "You want it?" And they be like, I said, "Do you want it?" And they say, "Yes." And guess what? They got it. That's who I am. That's who I am. And so May the 20th, mark your calendar. And it's free from 11 to 2 p.m. And I'm prayerful that the venue that is to be confirmed Tuesday, that I can advertise it and send out the flyers. All right. I'm going to be auctioning off some of my clothing, the best, the whatever. But guess what? If I had it my way, I wouldn't wear none of them. That's who I am. Listen, give me a nudity camp. I'll be right there. So I am auctioning off some of my clothing. And also, I will be selling my book because I'm in the process of writing the continuation of my first book. And many of you know that this is the book that was published in 2017. And it's my journal entries of 4 years when I left the world of addiction and was put on the pathway to a spiritual recovery by my God who delivered me from underneath that parked car. And I also will be sharing with you my verbal message. That title was given to me by Dr. Sonja. And I will be introducing you also to her awesome platform of how to identify your pain that creates a passion in order for you to feel your purpose and profit from that on various platforms, as long as it's done on a spiritual angle. And trust me, there's no other way, because if it's not spiritual, it's not going to last. And then I'm going to share something with you that could change your life, your business, so that you too can leave wealth to your family, but only from a spiritual angle. Okay, so that was that. And now you know that on Sundays I'm with you for an hour. And I need to continue to be transparent and authentic, right? And so I had a several dreams last night, and one stood out in particular. And it was a dream of someone stealing my car. And because I know that dreams have been a part of man since he's been in existence. As you know, in the scriptures, that a lot of, if not most of the information, directions, right, guidance came to man through dreams. And so I know without a shadow of a doubt that I remember most of them, but I also know that there is information, a spiritual message I need to discover. And so, one of the things that it helped me to realize that I'm a person with a lot of energy, and I thank God. I used to tell people, "Could you imagine me on crack?" So it comes naturally. I don't exercise. I don't do none of that, right? And so it's just my spirit, obviously, because Donald Lawrence says we are not natural beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings living and walking encased in this vessel and walking this journey here on earth called life. And so I know I have a lot of energy, but oftentimes I mismanage my time. It's about being authentic and transparent. And I also know about me that I can procrastinate and delay what I've been assigned to do. And like anybody else, we justify and rationalize. But guess what? 7 is the number for completion. And so the one thing I know I need and will complete is my dissertation. Achieving my doctorate degree in biblical studies just to learn more about the God who met me underneath that parked car to be sitting here before you today. And because of the 12-step spiritual program, that's where I found a loving and caring God who loved all of his children, regardless of their belief system. But the 12 spiritual principles has helped all of us identify a God, creator, higher power of our own understanding. And that was by way of the 12 spiritual principles that are spiritual in nature through awakenings, experiences, and transformations in order to achieve a psychic change. And so I am going to complete that. As a matter of fact, I called my professor, Dr. Steve Wright of Newcastle Count of Newcastle, no, of New Calvary Christian Academy, and I am ready to make my payment for submission of my proposal. And I'm going to also make my payment for my dissertation. And so the reason why I need to and will complete it after 7 years is because it's time. It's time. When the spiritual student is ready, the spiritual teacher will appear. And it was because of the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family and the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja that the fire was lit under my spirit and said, it's time for you to get this done. As well as my pastor, Dr. Christopher Allen Bullock of Canaan Baptist Church here in Newcastle, Delaware. All right. And so let me take a drink of I think I got coffee now. My dissertation is on identifying, which I have, 15 to 20 individuals who are in recovery. Some new, some been here a while, and some have been here for years. And assessing and evaluating their journey through their own words of how the 12 spiritual principles help them to identify a God of their understanding, right? And also to avail them to select, if they choose, a religion of their choice. Okay. And I will culminate it at the end with my journey from having a disdain for religion based on my experience before my addiction, during my addiction, even after my addiction. Even though I've been in recovery for 33 plus years, I've been affiliated with a religion for the past 18 years, and there's a reason why. So that's why I want to complete that. The other, let me take another drink of my coffee. The other project that I've been assigned to do is the course from the 5 agreements identified by the Ruiz family. And so here's their book, okay? And since I have embarked on my spiritual journey, I thirst more spiritual wisdom in order to continue to achieve a psychic change. And so I have a 4-month course that started in, I think, a couple months ago, and I haven't done anything. All I've done was read the intro and listen to the tapes but guess what? I contributed and invested in myself to achieve this additional spiritual wisdom, and I need to put the foot to the pedal. So I made a decision to do that as well. The next assignment that I've been given is the assignment by Dr. Sonja, Purpose Driven Businesses, that I invested in myself back in, I believe, February, and I've yet to complete any of the courses. Been listening to her, been reading about her, been attending the different conferences, but I've yet to do the work outlined in her course. I need to do that. I will do that. And there's another assignment. Let's see. It was my dissertation, the Ruiz, Dr. Sonja, and it was something else. Let me think for a minute, y'all. All right. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. Okay. So all that to say, time management is important, and the number 7 is important, and it all depends on me doing what I need to do. And so having that dream let me know there are some things I need to discard. There are some people I need to avoid. There are some situations I need not even engage. There are people I need to distance myself from. There are issues I need to address and prioritize. And so having that dream affirms what I've been needing to do and have been avoiding to do, but it came perfectly clear last night or early this morning, okay, when I had the dream. And so I'm telling you all this is because when we are chosen, and I believe people like myself who are in recovery have been chosen, that we are put on a spiritual journey to first allow the process to prepare us as individuals learning to love yourself, learning to nurture yourself, learning to take care of yourself, learning to invest in yourself, right? So people may think that's selfish, but it's not. In order for me to love, invest, nurture anybody else, I must learn how to do it for myself. So the Ruiz family calls that common sense, okay? And so as a result of going through this process, decisions are going to be made in order for me to complete. It's four, but I can only think of three. I don't know what's that other one, but it's going to come to me, right? And so, guess what, y'all? What I did was I set up 4 rooms. I have a computer in each room and a area to do those 4 projects. I also need to evaluate if I want to hibernate. You know what that means, right? Close myself in, only go out if it's necessary in order to stay committed, dedicated, and have consistency. And so that means setting up a schedule from the time my eyes are open by my Creator, after my meditation and prayer, to decide whether I want to continue to do my morning podcast, originally from 6:30 to 7, and I recently changed it from 9:30 to 10. Then I also wanted to do a recheck or a recap in the evening, right? And so I had to ask myself, although I'm giving out all this information, what am I applying to myself? Okay. And so I had a decision to make, whether to put that aside until I get these assignments done, so that when I do rejoin and reconnect, I will have additional information about the word completion. Okay. So I think I got my answer. Also, I need to decide the morning meetings that I go to 7 days a week from 7:30 to 8:30, Monday through Saturday. And on Sundays for a half hour, even though it's an hour, right? From 9 to 9:30. And then from 9:30 to 11, I'm at my religious fellowship, my church home. So when I think about all the time that I am going out, how much of me going out and learning and absorbing am I applying to myself? Okay. So I may need to watch those meetings and the worship service online instead of leaving my house. Because if you're like me, we get outside and we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this, we want to do that, and I get distracted. So I'm glad I'm taking this time to do this, because hopefully you're learning something, but I'm listening to myself. You hear me? I'm really talking to myself, right? And that's the beauty of to thy own self be true. And so as a result of having those issues to make a decision on, I am revealing them and putting them out in the atmosphere, right? So that I can be held accountable and responsible for those things that come out of my mouth, I believe, through my mind, and definitely from my heart. But there's times my heart and my mind ain't on the same page, right? And I thank God that He knows my heart. It's the mind that I got to work on. Okay, and I need to interject this right now, because yesterday was my mother's transition day, right? May the 6th, and So I know what it is. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I got it. It was the continuation of my first book that I'm working on. So that was number 4, right? So thank you, Lord. Thank you, Spirit, right? And so because my Mother's Day was yesterday, May the 6th, I am writing and reliving my early childhood, and I'm not going to spill the bean, but if you haven't received my journal entries, they will be coupled together once I am finished very soon. Okay, thanks to Dr. Sonja and putting that fire underneath my feet. But my mother used to say this about my dad, because she was in a turbulent relationship with him. She said, Lord, if you get him out of my heart, I can get him off my mind. Did you hear that? My mother prayed, God, if you get him out of my heart, because she loved her some Eddie Hall. My mommy loved my daddy. But she would pray. I don't know how long she prayed, because she endured a whole lot. From the time she was 15, having 6 children by the time she was 22. She endured a lot from my daddy, Eddie Hall. And it came to a point where she couldn't do it herself. She couldn't break loose. And she had that prayer, Lord, if you get him out of my heart, I can get him off my mind. So happy transition day, mommy. Okay. So because God knows my heart, I have to work on my mind. I have to apply those spiritual principles from all aspects so I can achieve that psychic change and complete my spiritual assignments, because they are all spiritual in nature. That's why I was chosen, like many others, to be prepared for things yet to come. And that's to stay on this spiritual journey, to help empower, enlighten others, and to give them hope. From recovery, emerge enlightened and empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. Okay, so now that you know, with the 4 rooms, okay, it's the continuation of my book. It's the dissertation. It's the courses from the Ruiz family and the courses from Dr. Sonja. All right. So, do I need to hibernate? Do I need to cut this out, cut that out, stop this, stop that, whatever? Okay. So, I'm putting it out so I can make the spiritual decision in order to complete my spiritual assignment. And that means I am investing in myself for my own spiritual growth. I'm a giver. I'm a giver. I'm a giver. I know I am a giver. And if it wasn't for the spiritual principles, Dr. Sonja and the Ruiz family, I would feel depleted. But I would still keep on giving. And so I need to be replenished. I do. I do. In my 12-step spiritual program, at my home group, at my church home. Yes, my assignment in the community. Yes. And in order for me to continue to be effective and productive, I need to turn those fingers and point them at me, Edwina. Everything that you're doing for everybody else, you need to do for yourself, only to be prepared to do even more for others. Okay, so that's my half hour take for this session. All right, so now it's time to get to the topic of today, right? Whew. Let me take another drink of my coffee. Thank you, y'all. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Hey, I ain't trying to choke y'all, okay? All right, so now y'all know on Sundays, and this will be a part of that decision making too, right? If I'm going to continue to do this, but you'll see, okay? So right now, let me do what I've been assigned to do. So on Sundays, because I'm here an hour, I want to recap what we talked about all week, okay? And that was through Monday through Saturday, the daily reflection reading, and then we will end it with today's reading, okay? So let's do a recap of what we learned during the week, okay? So let's go here. Let's move this and let's go here. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see it, and I'm sure you can. So on April the 30th, we talked about the great paradox. And the great paradox talks about how through the journey of the establishment of the Alcoholics Anonymous Fellowship, learning from the Washingtonians and the Oxford group, how man has been trying to find a cure, if you will, for people who drank a lot. They didn't call them alcoholics back then, right? And those who couldn't stop drinking. And many approaches were created and applied, but none of them worked. Not to the extent that AA has worked for thousands, maybe millions of people. And so the great paradox really talks about one alcoholic helping another. Mm-hmm. And so, with the review of the two previous movements and a visit by one of Dr. Carl Jung's patient, Roland H., it was acknowledged, even though it probably was known, but nobody wanted to acknowledge that the religion and the medical field could not help us. And it was Dr. Carl Jung who basically said, and I'm going to paraphrase, people with your disease, because he did believe it was a disease, right? That y'all need divine intervention. You need to have a psychic change, a spiritual transformation in order to deal with your disease of alcoholism, with that compulsion and obsession that takes over. You need to have a psychic change. And we believe that Dr. Bob, Bill W., and others are at that point where y'all can make this happen. And it did. And it just boiled down to one alcoholic helping another by sharing his experience, strength, and hope, right? And learning, dissecting, applying, and practicing spiritual principles to our thoughts, actions, and behaviors that will create that psychic change. And it's free. It's free. So that's the great paradox. Okay. Go back to alcoholicsanonymous.org and read the entire section. Okay. Then on Tuesday, healing the heart and mind. Healing the heart and mind. I'm glad I brought up that analogy with my mother. And but we who suffer from the disease of alcoholism, right? We have a void in our spiritual realm, our life. And so most of us, when we come to what they call the bottom, and people who know the scriptures, because all the steps came from the scriptures, everyone will have their knee bowing experience. And so at that very moment where we are at our wits' end, our heart is like, what? Right? And so it is through the heart, right, that we have that knee bowing experience that says it is so, 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 so. And we cry out these words, help me, help me. I don't know. I'm not talking about, y'all know, the heartbroken from the boyfriend, the girlfriend, your children, but I'm talking about that spiritual pain where our heart is just, and when they say that God knows our heart, He knows when His child is ready through the heart. Then comes the transformation and the pathway to spiritual wisdom, transformations, awakenings, and experience that will create that psychic change to heal the mind. But first, the heart must be healed. Okay? Then, on May the 2nd, it says lighting the dark past. Oh, this was a good one, right? Nothing in this journey called life is a waste. Although many of us think that, but in God's eyes, nothing is a waste. Nothing. And you have a scripture that says, all things, good, bad, indifference, up, down, in, out, all things work for the good for those who have that knee bowing experience and cry out with their tongue, He is. And so as a way of acknowledging, yes, His very existence that has and was blinded to us, as the Ruiz family talks about, the matter of domestication. And through the 4-step inventory, we go back in our history as far back as we can remember to where those attitudes, ideas, behaviors were first formulated, by whom, what condition, what circumstances, and what part did we play in it. Yes, we discovered that there's nothing wrong with us, but there was plenty that happened to us. And as I am writing my continuation of my first book, Tears of Joy, while I'm writing about the pain, demonstrates that I've been set free. Yes. And so my past, your past, is like putting a light, a flashlight on what many of us consider, I don't want to, but in order for us to heal, we must reveal that which we have tried to conceal. I am one who believes in removing the physical mask, but that same analogy needs to be applied to the mask we have inside of us. To remove them through spiritual principles, to be set free, and to tell the story holistically. Okay, so, all right, then the next day, let me take another drink. Oh boy. Cleaning house. Now, many of you know me or don't know me, right? Let me fix this thing because it's bothering me, right? Many of you know me, know that there's not a domestic bone in my body. That's what I thought. I don't like anything domestic, right? Because of doing my 4th step, I realized, no. Don't want to wash, don't want to clean, don't want to, no. I watch my mother, other women, and my aunt and my grandma. Oh my God, I told you I wanted to be like my dad. No. I'll go out and make the money. So, when we talk about that in a spiritual program, cleaning house, that's why the reading before that, meaning put a light on the dark past. We, in essence, want to clean house. And we are talking about the 5th step of the 12-step program says we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And so in the 4th step, when we put a light on the dark past, we'll recognize the character defects that have been there for a long time, that have been perpetuated even up until now. And defects are nothing more than God-given instincts that have far exceeded their purpose. And so through the 5th step, we learn to clean house. We learn to empty out that garbage can, even though it got some good stuff in it, some outdated stuff in it, but it got more defects in it than it does assets, okay? And so the 5th step, along with the help of our spiritual advisor or sponsor, we get to the exact nature. And we will discover, like the domestication that the Ruiz family talks about in his book, the main character defect is fear. And you know what they use and we use for the acronym of fear? False evidence appearing real. But through domestication and conditioning, a lot, if not most of all, our choices, decisions, lack of, is based on fear. And if you were an alcoholic like me, and even before you became an alcoholic like me, fear was F it. F it. Forget everything and run. F it. The short version of the serenity prayer, F it. But in recovery, we got a new acronym for fear. Face everything and recover. Face everything and rejoice. Face everything and be rejuvenated. Face everything and be restored. Face everything and be responsible. Face everything and be rewarded. All from a spiritual angle. Okay? Clean house. All right, let's go to the next one. It says, entirely honest. I tell you, boy, that's why I love recovery. Because if I am to be true to myself, the journey of me before, during, and after, and even up until now has been the journey of becoming transparent and authentic. And that has to do with honesty. It was through the humiliation underneath that parked car that brought about humility, because I had no choice but to be entirely honest. I can't do this. I don't want to live one more second of this. I would rather die, even though I tried to commit suicide several times. Honestly, listen, whoever they say you are, take me out or show me a better way. That was the first time I was entirely honest with myself. To whoever is responsible for me being here. Take me out now or show me a better way. And I have been put on the pathway to practice spiritual principles that helps me to be entirely honest with myself first and then with others. Okay, let's go to the next one because we got to get to the days. All right, the next one was the forest and the trees. How many of you remember that saying, right? We can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so in recovery, that's spiritual in nature, the domestication talked about by the Ruiz family, and the transformations by teachings by Dr. Sonja talks about how we basically have been living in a fog. Yes. And we see, right, that there is a forest, but there's so many things blocking. There's so many things, right? Ooh, ooh, ooh. But guess what? When we look at it from a spiritual angle, the forest I look at as the earth. And the trees, for me, is spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom. When I look at the totality of the forest and the trees, they go together. Through the forest, the trees take on different transformations during the seasons. And I can attribute that to our life, my life, so that I can be a part of the trees and the forest. Because according to the Ruiz family, we are all one. But when we apply it to our humanness, it takes on a different definition, a different meaning. And you know what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So let's go on. All right. So the next one says, the last one that we did yesterday, hold back nothing. This is, again, the fifth step. And it says, when we do our fifth step with our sponsor or spiritual advisor, when we talk about emptying that trash can, it's like having diarrhea. You know what that feels like, right? You trying to hold it, squeeze it, you trying to hold it. I'm very transparent and authentic, and I need tangible and visuals to make the connection. So it's like diarrhea. That build up. And then something, right? That last thing just kind of, and here we go. And so you know how, when we get to that commode, toilet, whatever you want to call it, sometimes, depending upon how severe it is, we want to ease, right? You know. And then sometimes, I'm sorry, but I'm transparent and authentic, right? And the relief is not going to be experienced until we go through the pain of it, of letting go, not resisting, not holding nothing back. And then sometimes, like, we'll get up and we think we're done. Oh, we got to go back. We got to go back. Holding nothing back. So when we talk about those internal issues, the things we said, done over our lifetime as far back as we can remember, that spiritual advisor or sponsor will help us. But they can't help us if we're holding something back. I don't want half recovery. I want total recovery. I don't want half the remedy. I want all the remedy. So therefore, in my spiritual journey, I'm not holding nothing back. You understand? I hope you do, because guess what? I'm talking to myself. I tells on myself. But I pick and choose who I need to relieve this information, relieve myself of this information too, right? Because I learned, like many of us, the hard way. The goal is to be honest. But in your honesty, don't be stupid. That's what my mom used to say, right? But anyway, all right, so hold nothing back. All right, so that leaves me 10 minutes to do today's topic, okay? And so the day's topic, right? Let's go here. All right, let's go here. Um, let's see. Okay, wait a minute. Let me share with you real quick the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family. The first one says to be impeccable with your word, right? Be impeccable with your word. That means through this process, we learn that our words mean something. And that's our first form of communication with ourselves and with others. And so through the domestication process, we have been taught to think, say, and act a certain way based on society, based on living on this planet, etc. And so for many, many years, we have been impeccable with our word, meaning we have sinned against ourselves with our word and have sinned against others, right? With our word and vice versa. And so the Ruiz family states that if we begin to practice being impeccable with our word, we will feel and do and say things that are not sinful against us and against others. So instead of saying that, Winnie, you're nothing, say it, Winnie, you are God's child. Instead of saying, I'll never make it, no, you are going to make it. You will make it. You see what I mean? Okay. The second one, it says, don't take anything personally. Do you know how many billions of people are on this earth? You mean to tell me that you're going to take all those opinions personally? Get my drift? Don't take nothing personally. Why? Because it's their opinion, just like it's yours of others, right? Everybody's on their journey. So practice, don't take anything personally. It's challenging, but it works. The next one says, don't make any assumptions. Y'all know the short version of making an assumption, right? You make it out of you and me, right? And so the very thought of making an assumption, oh my God, the domestication that the Ruiz family breaks down with all these agreements, it's like, wow, you mean to tell me we make assumptions all day long and we don't know the truth? It says, don't be afraid to ask the questions, but instead we make assumptions. But they're suggesting to us, don't make any assumptions, okay? The next one is always do your best. So if I'm impeccable with my word and I practice not taking anything personally and I practice not making assumptions, like now, I am doing my best. I am doing my best. I don't know who's watching. I don't know who's listening because it's none of my business. That's God's business. My job is I'm doing the best that I can, what I have and what he's given me to help one other person, and I don't know who it is. Okay? So I'm always doing my best, all right? And then the last one is to be skeptical, but learn to listen. Now, that means starting with self. You know how we talk negative to ourselves, like I just shared with you in the first agreement, right? And so they teach us how to listen to what we're saying to ourselves, right? And so we need to identify what we're saying and process it. Is it something that's going to feed the flesh? Or is it something that's going to feed the spirit? Be skeptical, but learn to listen. When we practice doing it with ourselves, we practice doing it with others, okay? All right, so let's get to the topic. I got 5 minutes, okay? All right, so let's take this out And let's go to the reading today. All right. And so the reading today is this. Okay. It says, respect for others. Okay. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. This is from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 74. And the person in recovery shares his perspective. Respect for others is the lesson that I take out of this passage. I must go to any length to free myself if I wish to find that people, that peace of mind that I have sought for so long. However, none of this must be done at another's expense. Selfishness has no place in the AA way of life. When I take the fifth step, it's wiser to choose a person with whom I share common aims, because if that person does not understand me, my spiritual progress may be delayed and I could be in danger of a relapse. So I ask for divine guidance before choosing the man or woman whom I take into my confidence. Okay? And so check this out, y'all. Check this out. All right. So here it says, such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand yet be unaffected. So, in other words, when we select a person to do our fifth step with, when we select that person that we are going to reveal any and everything, right, to empty that trash can, we have to be mindful of who we select. Now, I'm going to tell you, my journey was interesting because I selected the man of the cloth, but I had an ulterior motive. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm transparent and authentic. And so I didn't do it the way the AA program suggested it. I wanted to practice on somebody first, but I had an ulterior motive and it didn't work out. But that's okay. Because when I selected the person I needed to do it with and did do it with, that was the first thing I disclosed. And we got to the exact nature of why I did that. All right. So then it goes on to say, right? It says here, right? Mm-hmm. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Okay. And so when we do our fifth step, after doing our fourth step, we will see the harm we have caused people and ourselves. We see how our defects prompted and ignited the defects of others, and how during this fifth step, the person who has information and knowledge of why we're doing it will help us get to the exact nature. But it also says we must be considerate of others when we are talking about situations. Names are really not necessary, right? But the situation is definitely required in order to get a better understanding. So we are respecting the anonymity of others who may be known, just the mere fact of the story. Okay. So then it also says here, let's go back. It also says here, right? Wait a minute. Here we go. Right. It says here, respect for others is the lesson that I take out of this passage. I must go to any length to free myself if I wish to find that peace of mind that I have sought for so long. Now, when we empty that garbage can, it's still a garbage can. I mean, you're talking about the vessel, right? But now we have a new bag in it. And before we, get it filled up again, right? We have someone to help guide us, right? And so the goal of all these spiritual principles is to find peace, tranquility, serenity, but not at the expense of others. Okay. And so the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And we apply that to people. God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that that person is me. So when we do our fifth step, we are on the road to peace, tranquility, and serenity. Okay. Then the person says, I got to go now. However, none of this must be done at the expense of others. Selfishness has no place in the AA way of life. When I take the fifth step, it's wiser to choose a person with whom I share common aims, because if that person does not understand me, my spiritual progress may be delayed and I could be in danger of a relapse. I'm going to tell you now, oh, hell to the no. Hell to the no, hell to the no. I'm not letting anything or anybody have that much power over me ever again to make me go back to drinking and put me underneath that parked car. But more importantly now, to steal my joy, my peace, my serenity, my tranquility, and my ability to be used by my God. Nothing. As much as I love my grandchildren, nothing. Not even them. Okay? So it's time for me to go. And I'm going to close with this last line that says, right? So I ask for divine guidance before choosing the man or woman whom I take into my confidence. That is so important. And so let me do this right now. I have a sponsee, someone I'm helping, guiding through the steps. And I could have done something differently in the information that I had. And I could have done something differently with the information that I had. Now, the fifth step is between me and that person, right? And with 33 plus years in this program, I still stumble forward. I still fall short forward. I still trip forward. I still make mistakes. Okay. And so let me say publicly that I apologize to my sponsee who believed and felt that I wronged him and I betrayed his trust. But guess what? To God be the glory. He's not drinking behind it. I'm not going to drink behind it. And we are still in this spiritual program that offers spiritual awakenings, transformations to achieve that psychic change. So I am making a verbal apology, although I have done it in person. But I want to say, forgive me. I'll do better. Thank you and have a blessed day. I'm off to my meeting.